gun, but I be damn if a nigga try to take your son. Mama, I know you love me. Shit, I love you too. All that heartache and that pain that I put you through. All them jail calls and letters
Jesus
I wrote
Christ,
you
like
too.
if these niggas need to
Sleep,
make
I
that
ain't
noise
sorry,
right
no
now.
crying tears up in my bed. Always had a little clothes in my stomach, a little fed. Damn, mama,
I'm
you coming
serious with
home,
these
I'm ready
niggas
for the
out here,
kids.
man. I swear to
Love you,
God.
son, but you better go wipe them damn tears. Stand tall, keep your head high. You gotta keep moving. Whatever the situation, baby, you gotta keep moving. I can
What do
teach
you
you
want
to
to
be
make
a
a
man
topic
the
on?
best way I can, but any responsibility, baby, that fall
I
on
was
your
thinking about
head.
either
So
recapping on
Kira
yesterday,
saved my life when she sent me on that flight.
right?
Turn
Like
around, keep
recapping in
looking,
reference
and then
to
look me in my eyes like you next, nigga. Keep playing, I'ma show you what's
recapping
next, nigga.
on
How you been through
ego
before you
versus
be asking for breath, nigga.
pride.
Recite them death scriptures. Go on, sit your ass down and go and figure out your
Thank you for
next, nigga.
everybody coming in. Or I was thinking about how you feel like how, how should I phrase this, right? Because I always set things up so it could be a stage in order to execute it. A lot of times you feel like you're surrounded by company, and at the end of the day you feel alone, right? And at the end of the day you're all alone. And but the only thing that you do have is the intuition, the spirit, the godly uh, guidance. So you want to touch on that? And I'll start off with how my first experience, I knew I was always alone. Besides having the guidance, I had the ancestors, I had spirit guides, I had the teachers, I had all of that with me. I didn't know that until later on in life. So there's a story, and we're not talking about the Brady Bunch, right? Um, there was an experience for me where my great grandmother, she takes me to go shopping. I go shopping with her. I join her, and in my family, we was brought up that you got to contribute. Contribute meaning you got to carry bags. So I had to help her contributing. That was my donations in reference to the home. So being that I will help her, so there's this. I laugh every time at this story. So I'm 5 years old. Just moved back from LA to New York. My mom put me on a flight. I always felt this is where my personally abandonment issues is rooted from. So I could pinpoint everything from era to era, from year to year, from where it started and where it was rooted. But we're talking about how you feel alone in the. You come to realization that you're alone in this world. So when I was with her, we was shopping, and she's like, "Yo," I told her there was a toy. It was actually Superman, to be honest with you. And I see him up. Oh, he's real up on the top, and I'm like, "Yo, Grandma, I want you to buy me that toy." She said, "We ain't come in here for the buying you no toy. I didn't come here for that." So I was like, "Are you serious?" She goes, "Yeah, I didn't come here to buy you no toy." I was like, so I dropped the bags. I said, "I don't work for free. Because if I gotta contribute, you said that if I help, that's my contribution to helping around the house. So I'm not working for free." I dropped the bags on the floor and I just stood there with my arms crossed, right? She picked up the bags and she said, "Come on, let's go." I said, "I'm not moving until you buy me that toy." She just said, "Boy, you either come or I'll leave your ass here." Crossed my arms again. Said, "I ain't moving until you get my toy." So when she was like, "All right," she left. She walked out. I said, "If I walk out the door, I lose this battle. If I stay, I win, and she has to come back and to make sure that I go home with her." 10 minutes later, I go outside. I said, "I'm going to lose the battle now." So I go outside. She's not there. I thought she was going to be right outside in front of the door. She wasn't there. I go around the corner. Mind you, I'm only 5 years old. I go around the corner. I go around the corner. I look down the block. She's nowhere to the left. She's nowhere to my right. She's nowhere in front. She's nowhere behind me. So I said, you know what? Let me keep walking. So I walked, and there happened to be 2 cops in front of the bank. In front of the bank, back in the days, this was the dime bank back then. So there was 2 officers in front of the bank, and I went up to them and I said, excuse me, I'm lost. I lost my grandmother. I can't find her. I lost her. She must be looking for me, and I don't know where she's at, but I do have the key to go home. Would you, can you take me? And the cop said, you know where you live? I said, yeah. Opens the door, takes me in, puts me in the back seat of the cop car. We go to my house. They drop me off, and I showed them my keychain. I used to carry a key back in the days. We're talking about early 80s. A shoelace with a key on it. So I opened the door, and as I go upstairs, I could hear my grandmother and my great-grandmother and my grandmother both arguing over my great-grandmother abandoning me back in the store. So being that she'd abandoned me, left me, I've always felt like no one ever wanted me. I never felt accepted. So this is where unacceptance comes in, right? This is where rejection comes in. This is where abandonment comes in. This is where insecurities start to come in as a child. And if you don't know how to face them, how do you deal with them? No one is subject to learning or knowing any of these lessons. So how are you supposed to know what to do? Anyway, fast forward. I hear my great-grandmother, my grandmother arguing, saying that little kid is a little devil. Leave him. Ain't nobody going to want him. They're going to bring him right to you. I walked through the door. I looked her straight in the face and I said, all right, that'll be the last time you have my respect. You ain't never going to have my respect. So I used to curse her out all the time. She used to ask me to help her with stuff. I'm like, go fuck yourself. And my mom knows. My grandmother knows that I had a temper. Like I said, my 2 things I don't have is patience and a temper. My temper, I don't even have one. It's just tick, boom. I try to ease that monster because it can control me and I could lose it from zero to death row and real quick. And that's something that's not good. And I'm not here to be promoting and saying that I'm violent and shit. Like, no, it's not what it is. You push the right button and you see something, a part of me that I don't want to ever expose ever again because I caged it up for so long. But anyway, so ever since then, I knew that I was always going to be alone. I realized at the age of 5, ain't nobody here with you. If your own family betray you, you ain't got nobody. Who do you depend on? You got to learn how to depend on you. You got to learn how to trust you. You got to learn how to make it and learn how to survive, because if you don't know how to figure that out, you're on your own, kid. And I learned that early in age at 5. And I was just realizing this earlier today where I was like, yo, you know? So fast forward, whenever I was with my I was with my grandmother, like in the supermarket, Alexander's back in the days, Woodworth, there was Queens Mall, or the supermarket. So let's just say I lost them in all these places, which I did. I will always, I don't know, I just used to just wonder. And my mind is always curious. So I go with curiosity. And I let my curiosity kill me and lose me. So out of my curiosity, I will always just wonder and just leave their side. So I learned after my great-grandmother never to trust the family. So every time I lose them, I will go straight to the car and I'll sit on the hood of the car like this or like this to make sure they never leave me again. I learned my lesson the first time. Don't trust them, because they're willing to abandon you. They're willing to lose you. And kidnapping was high at that time, which is still high today. But at that time, it was going crazy. They was constantly stealing kids. And there was a thing called DARE. I don't know what it, drug something, I don't remember. DARE was around at the time. There was a kid named, there was a movie called My Name Is Not Steven, based on a kid that was kidnapped from the second or third grade. He told him that his parents didn't want him anymore and that he was here to take him in. And he raised the guy. He didn't do anything to the kid, but he raised him, and that's a story. So supposedly it's a true story. Anyway, and there were times when, now this is in California, where my mom would, hey Lucy, my mom would tell me, no, excuse me. There were times when I would be going food shopping with my mom. And when we was food shopping, she would come out and get upset at me because when I used to lose her in the supermarket, I would go to the front so they could call her on the mic, and they would announce over the announcement and say, "Sonia, please come to the front. Your son is looking for you." And she used to get so fucking heated. She would grab me and pinch me and say, "You're embarrassing." She said I was always embarrassing. I was, you know what it was, man? I was constantly looking for that attention, validation. I was looking for love. I was looking for acceptance. I was looking for that approval because I never felt loved. I never felt approved. I never felt accepted. I never felt wanted. I always felt like they was constantly trying to get rid of me and abandon me. And those are trust issues you grow up with, thinking that it's okay, that you don't trust no one. If you can't trust your own family, where are you going to put a trust at, knowing that as a kid? Like, you ain't going to trust nobody. I don't give a fuck what you say. There's nothing that you're going to convince me. You ain't going, hello? So, like, growing up, I've learned to grow up fast. I learned how to, the experiences that exposed me through life have constantly, I've had nothing but teachers constantly teaching me how to grow throughout life. And it's where my wisdom actually comes from. But then after that, those trust issues became something I had to deal with. And you got to go internally. So people are, I'm going to get into something else in a second. People are just a reflection of the hurt, the pain, the resentment, the anger, the bitterness, the grudges, the hate, anything that you have resting inside of you. People are constant reflections of those damages, those hurts, those pains, and all of those vibes. You're attracting your tribe. Those people are your tribe. So if you don't deal with the internal hurt, the pain, the resent, the anger, all of these things, all of these issues become an element. The element becomes a reflection. The reflection becomes an issue. The issue becomes you're constantly complaining and pointing the finger at someone else, saying that it's their fault that you haven't dealt with your issues. Relationships that have been heartbroken are just reflections of reminders and tests that you need to heal from. If you see it repetitive, that means it's a constant thing that you have not. Those are signs that you need to deal with the internal pain, the internal hurt, the internal regrets, the resentment, all of that shit. All you're doing is reenacting, reliving, and recycling all that shit to come back every time. So whether it's through friendships or relationships, you're going to constantly mirror these exactly traits that you're thinking about, feeling, and vibing. So if you're vibing, feeling, and thinking it, you're attracting it. You're attracting and you're constantly manifesting the same issues to constantly repeat itself over and over. It's like repeating the third grade over until you still haven't learned the lesson. This is why people say, oh, you're a lesson or a blessing. No. Have you done your homework? Have you looked inside of you? Stop pointing the finger at everybody else and start pointing the finger at yourself. Look in the mirror and actually take accountability for the way you're thinking, the way you're feeling, and the way you express yourself, do you really deal with the trauma that you have dealt with from a child? Because it comes from the root, the foundation. What is your foundation? It comes from your family. They're your foundation. Those are your first lessons. Do you hold grudges towards them? Are you angry at them? Are you bitter? Are you resentful? Because all of them shits become internal issues that you are reflecting out. And it's like a spotlight looking for that right person that has the same exact issue. And boom, it's like a magnet. You're going to attract that person that has. So it becomes codependency. Codependency is basically, I rely on you, you rely on me, because we have the same issues. So being that we have the same issues, now it's locked in. But the damage you're both going to cause to each other is fucking unforgettable. So now you're going to have history between you and this person, only to have to bring out of the same thing. Mind you, this is the foundation, family. Now you're having relationships, having the experiences, and you're attracting it, and now you're blaming them. When in reality, you never dealt with the personal situations that you had to deal with as from a childhood traumas. So the childhood traumas are just the reflections of all the healing you need to go through before you jump in a relationship. I don't feel like nobody should be in a relationship until they actually dealt with all their internal traumas. So if you got hate, anger, bitterness, resentment, and all that type of shit in you, don't get involved, man. Because you just loading that shit on someone else's back. And that's not fair to them, and it's not fair to you, because all you're going to do is, put it this way, you're contributing for the same shit to continue into your life on a regular basis, because what you attract, you manifest. What you manifest, you encounter. What you encounter, you experience. Your experience gives you wisdom. Your wisdom becomes your reality, right? So now it's an internal truth because you believe that shit. Once you believe that, it's so much shit, truth to that shit. Hello, Crystal. People need to learn how to deal with their internal traumas. First and foremost, that's basics, ABCs. That's the basic introduction to reflect on yourself and look in the mirror and say, okay, I'm accountable for all. People are just your lessons to tell you what you need to work on. So whatever triggers you, ask yourself, why am I getting upset because of that? That's your lesson, right? Okay, he got me upset because he treated me some type of way, or she. Why? What is that reflecting? That's a reflection from your childhood time when you was a kid and somebody treated you some type of way, which you internalized and held that grudge, which became bitterness, and all you're really doing is reliving and reacting and re-attracting the same shit. But because you don't let go of things, you got to learn how to forgive, forget, and release. And release always with love. And I always tell everybody, if you have something towards someone in particularly, let's say someone did you damage, someone did you hurt, someone did you wrong, someone did you bad, and caused you a lot of trauma in your life, a lot of pain, I always suggest write a letter to this person, per se. Let's just say Amy, for example. Amy hurted me in some type of way, and all the anger, all the frustration, all that bitterness, everything, let it erupt out of me. But write it down and express to Amy all these feelings, all these emotions, all these thoughts, all these expressions to be expressed on this paper, on this pen and paper, right? But at the end of that letter to Amy, I say, I release you in love, Amy, and I wish you all the best. And I assure you, and I promise you, you will have a sense of peace. Because you're telling the universe, I am no longer trying to hold on to this grudge. I am no longer want no parts of this resentment. I would no longer want to be contributing for this to keep reenacting, reliving, and recycling into my life on a continuous basis. Like, yo, when are you gonna let this shit go? Do you wonder why you have anchors on your back? It's like someone threw an anchor on your. It's and that is only hindering you, stopping you, and keeping you from living your dreams, your passion, your purpose, your destiny, and it's only gonna hinder you from living out why you've been created and to walk the earth. You're not, no one is supposed to be working a 9 to 5. Let's get that straight and let's make that clear. I'm blessed in a way that I work my job that I literally got home at 9:45. How many of you just starting your day? And I get paid for the full day no matter what time I get out. Whether if it's early, and it's always going to be early. It doesn't get late for me. Like, God has blessed me in a way where the universe, the creator, the source, the divine intelligence has made a way for me that I'm able to work on crafts that he's blessed me with gifts that I have. And I'm able to work on all these projects because I'm not going to go home and just sit on my ass and not try to create, because we creators. We innovators. And if you once you learn that you're a creator, you can create the world that you live in into existence just by speaking, thinking, imagining, and believing it to come to pass. But you got to learn how to take actions, and you got to create generate a generational wealth that's going to constantly contribute more money, generate more money, and more money, and more money for you. You see, the things that about the streets that it teaches you the principles, it teaches you entrepreneur, it teaches you customer service, it teaches you how you have to promotion, and you have to know how to network, how to connect with people, how to make the customer feel like, hey, can I come back again? Can I trust you? Can I rely on you? Are you on 24/7? Will you meet me here? Will you compromise? Streets, man. And these are just real simple, basic introductions of life, which it seems like nobody really understands or gets this, because you're not exposed to certain things. And I thank God that I was exposed to so much for so long as a kid, because it made me open my eyes and open my mind that I'm not closed-minded. A lot of people seems to be closed-minded. Closed-minded means you're shut. You don't allow anything to come in and penetrate your thoughts, penetrate your mind, penetrate your heart, penetrate your spirit, penetrate your soul. Like, once you allow all these places and aspects and parts of you, you have more dynamics to yourself than you realize. And people just minimize themselves with small way of thinking. Small way of thinking give you no results. You're not, let's make this clear once again, you're not meant to work a 9 to 5. You have a gift inside of you that's going to be able to generate more money than what you make at your job. That you'll be making that same amount that you make a year, you'll be able to make in a month. Monthly, if not more, triple it. But nobody takes that risk. Nobody takes that chance because you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe in your craft. You don't believe in your skill. You don't believe in your art. Create. That's all you really got to do. You've been given a gift. You've been entrusted with so much potential and power, but you underestimate yourself. And I know I'm going a little high, a little too far for you guys. It's a little too deep, and I hate to minimize my shit, but I don't want to minimize, because eventually, somehow, some way, it will make sense. Again, you're not meant to work a 9 to 5, man. Honestly. And I wish we can all just know this, because you're only being mind controlled, manipulated, so that you can be conditioned to be part of the system, part of the matrix, only so that you can be a working little slave. A modern day slave, they call it, right? So you're basically a puppet. I rest my case with that. I'm not going to continue that part. Anyway. it becomes a lot. It becomes a lot when you want to dig in my brain, my vision, my perspective, my anticipation, my what excites me, what drives me, what moves me, what you guys just throw a question because I don't even want to know. I'm from far. Understood. Um. So if there's any females out there that have constant failure in their relationships, one, you're vibrating on a low frequency. Low vibration attracts low frequency people. Small-minded people, small-minded thinking, small-minded expectations, and small-minded results. But when you vibrate high, you start to more quality, it has more essence, it has more substance to them. Individuals, men and women. But a lot of people don't seem to heal their heart, their traumas. They have unforgiveness. They let all these past situations which you're not allowed to enter your future until you healed what's behind you. Forgive, forget, release, let go. It doesn't count anymore. It makes no difference for you. It's not going to make you better. It's only going to make you worse. It's only going to make you sick, actually, because it starts, you're being dysfunctional. That's crippling you. So if it fucks with your mind, then it's going to fuck with your heart. It's going to fuck with your actions, and you'll never be able to move forward. Excuse me for using certain type of language, but ladies, forgive yourself first. Let go of the guilt, let go of the shame, let go of the resentment, let go of the bitterness, let go of the anger, let go of the hate. Let go of all that shit, because all that really does is invite sicknesses into your body, into your being. What's up, Wilson? Women, you are the ones who give life. Y'all more of a creator. Y'all more in tune with spiritual than anybody in this world. Men are not in tune because we are logical thinkers. Women are emotional. Emotional creatures means you're able to connect from your heart. Once you know that you can connect from your heart, you are in. A lot of men don't know how to drop into their heart because we have pride and ego. Like I was saying last night, someone who had check-in, that was a surprise pop-up. I don't usually do a Thursday night. Like, I'd rather read than come on here live and talk. Like, really, who want to listen to that? But anyway, women, heal from certain parts of yourself. Let go, forgive. That's only going to stop you from ever being going forward. For real. It's my anthem. In reference to last night, those who checked in, I was speaking on how ego and pride get in your way from ever taking actions, from actually apologizing to people you need to make connections with, because you've had a foundation with these people, but yet you come in and you allow that shit to interrupt, disrupt, and distract. And that's where ego actually hinders men. I don't know about women personally per se, but I know men-wise, because I'm speaking as a man. Your ego and pride will definitely cripple you in so many ways. And I'm a failure to cripple. I'm a failure to ego and the pride. And my ego and my pride has only led me to failure in communication with people in the past. Then currently that I got to deal with personally is patience and my temper. Boy, that temper is going to be a hard one for me personally. because my temper constantly is being tested, and I know that's a test that I haven't fully passed yet. It's like a test and it's an exam, and we're just students of life, living, experiencing life here, and going through a journey. The journey, it exposes you I'm with you on that as far as having an issue with controlling your temper. And to be honest with you, I read this in a book and then I just confronted it and I asked my mom about it. She's in the book, it says that you got to breathe in for about 10 seconds. Breathe in, take a deep breath, breathe out. Now, let me tell you something. Addie, the reason why you're being tested, right? Now, watch this. The reason why you're being tested, because they know that's a trigger. And that means that trigger, they know if they press that button on you, they get a reaction. And if they get a reaction, that means they control you. And I'm telling you from experience at my grandmother's house. For example, there's times where she'll throw my daughter at me that I don't spend enough time with her. Being that I don't spend enough time with her, she uses as a trigger. I used to react. Now I let her talk and I don't even say nothing. I just say, no problem. Because you're constantly giving your power away to people. So if getting a reaction means you're giving your power away. And it's crazy when you to look at it from that dynamic, from that perspective, you start to be like, oh. So I definitely understand what you're saying. As far as being tested and always being like people pushing that button, you got to start to say, let's just say this is the button, right? You got to remove the button and they looking where to press, ain't nothing to press because there's no more reaction. No more reaction means you're not giving your power away no more. And that's what I got to constantly remind myself, because either do I allow my ego, my temper, my impatience have more control over me, or do I control it? And that's when you become a master of your mind, master of thought, master of self. Yeah, it's a process. It's a process and it's a test, and it's a constant test, and it's constantly coming at you because we failed them tests. That's what it is. It's repeated testing. So I feel you on that. I know exactly what you're talking about. And that's my constant battle. Constant battle is learning how to deal with being impatient. Because my impatience makes me lose my anger. Makes me lose my temper, and I react out of anger. But if you take that deep breath and you think 3 times and you say to yourself, what good is this? What good is it going to serve me if I react the way I want to? Right? Let's just say in a perfect world. In a perfect world, you react the way you want to, but at the end of the day, how far will you go? Just imagine that. Like, how far will you go? To what extent will it give you gratification? Pounding this person's head out in the floor? Punching them in the jaw? Kicking them in the groins if it's a guy, or in the throat? Like, my imagination can run wild for so long. And giving your power away to other people is just going to make you lose yourself in the mix of it. And then that's when you fail. You don't want to repeat the same thing, because then it just becomes repetitive and you lose your temper, and then it turns into a habit, and the habit is just easier to give into, because it's like, what's the point now? At this point, it's like, we gone this far. How far are you going to take it? Again, giving your power away is not going to make you better. It's going to make you worse. It makes you weak, and you're always going to be reactive towards any little situation, because now you're going to be snappy. Now you're going to have an attitude. Now you're going to have a constant combustion explosion at any time. You're going to be walking time bomb. You're going to be a ticking time bomb. To be more patient for my son only. Now, you see how you apply that same to your son? Apply it to regular people, whoever it is that tests you. Those tests is always keep in the back of your mind, like, this is a test. How am I going to react? How am I going to respond? Why am I allowing this person to trigger me? Why do I want to give my power away to this person? Is this person that important to me? Like, are they that important to you that you giving your power away? And this is the questions that I ask myself. So I'm not saying it's just you. This is questions that I already do to me. I'm like, why am I doing this for? What am I going to get out of this at the end of the day? Nah, it's just that when you've been walking this journey for so long, I got everything down packed, but I fail in those two areas. Patience and my temper. Cause remember, you lose your patience. You here comes your temper, and temper turns into anger. Anger eventually leads to bitterness. Bitterness leads to resentful. Resentful leads to the shit never ends. This is why you gotta get to the root of the cause. And the cause is just gonna give you an effect. The effect is your outcome result. It's a motherfucker. It's a journey. It's a journey, alright. But yet you come back with family generational curses that you gotta deal with they shit on top of that. Plus your shit. So now you already built in wired prior from their fuck ups, and now it's on your back and you got to carry it. So for example, the same temper that you have that you're dealing with, you're showing it to your child and you're giving it to them. Now it's being embedded in them. It's being wired, it's being programmed, it's being seen, it's being heard by them. So when you think about your child, like, do I want to expose my child to this? Do I want my child to learn these habits? Do I want my child to have to suffer the repercussions that I'm dealing with now? I'm going to cut ties to all that shit. Cut ties from all that. It's not easy, Addy. It's not. It's a process. And not to make you get emotional, but it's just to look at it from a perspective when having that in the back of your mind, your child, you exposing the way you react. Because remember, it's caught, not taught. It's not what you teach them that they're going to learn. It's what they see you do, how you react, how you respond, how you are triggered for any little situation. They're going to use what they see and practice it. And now it becomes a habit, it becomes a routine. And it's accepted because you showed it to me. So then when they grow up, who are they blaming? Mommy did it, daddy did it, uncle did it. So you always got to be mindful of who you expose your kid to. You want to expose them to negativity? Don't be surprised if you find them doing something that's out of your elements, out of your expectation. You expose them to positivity, well then, whatever it is that you embed in the mind of a child is going to be the outcome, the result. I try to teach my daughter, she's rebellious like me. Those days I used to be that person. I was that kid that I disappeared for 3 days and slept on the street because I didn't want to go home because I was afraid. And I caused hell in my family. Every year getting expelled out of a district. From state to state. Not city to city or borough to borough or block to block or zip code to zip code. I'm talking statewide. I was expelled from a state. So every time I would have to fly back to LA. And once I got kicked out of a school from LA, put it like this. I'm going to give you one little story real quick. One day I'm getting on the yellow bus. I'm in the back. We get on the highway, on the expressway, whatever they call it out there. So we on the expressway. I open the window. I open up my book bag. I start flinging my books out the window like frisbees because I thought it was funny when it would smack people's windshield. Mind you, I'm only in the 3rd grade. This is the type of kid that you were talking to. So that mindset to the person that I become today is totally different. That's my constant evolution of growth. My goal, to never look like the person I used to be. So as I'm throwing these books out the window as a kid, I find it funny. All you hear is and about to cause accidents, about to cause people's lives. Why? Because I find it funny. So you got to think about the imagination, the creativity, and the mindset of a child that was just reckless. So I get off the bus. The bus driver tells me, "Come here." Back in the days, I don't know what they call it, but when I was growing up, it was called citations. It's like a ticket. He says, your 3rd citation, you got kicked off the bus. Now your mom got to drive you to school. I get home and I'm scared out my ass to show my mom this letter. It's a yellow piece of paper and it says you're getting the last citation, your warning, you kicked off the bus. I'm kicked off the bus and I got to show this letter because I got to get it signed. How am I getting to school? My mom works and gets up at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, is ready by 6, drops me off. I have to walk. And she has to drive for another hour. And she's not going to have the time to drive me from the opposite hour to get to the school, to come back, and then go back. It's not going to happen. She was so frustrated that night, she beat the life out of me. I get expelled. No, I get suspended off the bus. She comes and spoke to the bus driver directly and said, you got to take him. I don't got the time, I don't got the energy, and you're going to take him. I'm here to represent him, and he will not do that no more. And if he does, you call me directly because I'll beat the life out of him again. That story turns into a court case, right? Because now I got bruises on my back because she hit me with a heel. So I guess back in the days as kids, I will hug my friends. When I will hug my friends, one of my friends hugged me too tight. I felt from the heel, the lump, the black and blue on my back. I pushed him away and I said, yo, get off me. I became defensive. I became reactive. And I didn't let him get close to me. Why? Because I had wounds on my back from the beatings of my life, from a shoe of my mom. Because I got kicked off the bus, basically. And because I want to be throwing books out the window. I'll beat my daughter's ass today and until tomorrow. I just thinking about how crazy I was, or how I was a loose cannon, right? But anyway, that happened. Oh man, now these people are late. Yeah, I was, and that was only in the 3rd grade. So imagine, right? I'm throwing books out the window. My mom beats the life out of me. My friend hugs me, and I push him away from me. I told him, get off me. Don't touch me. He was like wondering why. He goes, tells the teacher. The teacher says, lift up your shirt. Now it becomes an abusive, child abuse case to my mom. Remember, it's because of my fault. I threw out the books out the window. She was frustrated. So I understand. I took myself out of the equation and I said, if that was me, how would I react? So I don't fault my mom today or when I thought about it. I just felt like she was doing what was right for me. Giving me order. So she beats my ass. This kid gives me a hug. Tells the teacher that he's acting strange and I think he's hurt. Teacher makes me lift up my shirt. She sees all these black and blues all over my back, covered because my mom beat me with a 6-inch heel. Now, she has a court case to deal with. Now she's been ordered by the school system for child abuse. Now she goes to the court and she has the case. She's standing in front of the judge. She says, I don't want him. You want him? You take him. You deal with him. He's out of control. I don't know what else to do with him. He is out of control. He's only in the 3rd grade. This child is out, loose cannon. He's going to end up in the system. You want him now? Take him early. And no one wanted to deal with me. So just imagine how I felt with my own mom, my great-grandmother, and certain family members never wanted me around. Even to this day, they still get jealous. Now they get jealous of me when I come around. My aura, my presence, my spirit. It makes other people's quiver. It makes other people feel uncomfortable in their own skin. Because I've grown so much. But if I would have been that other kid that I was growing up to be, as far as I would have been a delinquent, a juvie. I would have been incarcerated as an adult. I would have been a person of lifetime sentence in the route that I was going in. Because I was still reckless in my teenage years. I was still reckless until, I want to say 20 years old is when I really stopped my shit. I stopped altogether, everything. No more. 18 was when it became scary because I was constantly being told, keep fucking around and you're going to see Bubba give you stitches in your ass. And my family is very vocal and very expressive and very vivid. So they give me a vision, imagination, and an expression all in detail of what will happen because of my character, because of my temper, because of my attitude, because of my ways. This is when what I appreciate about my lifetime story as a kid, it exposed a lot of my negative nature and my habits and my attributes at a young age. So I seen it growing up. Like, I know my faults. I know my flaws. I see my weaknesses. I see all this shit that I caused my family, why they look at me some type of way. So they expected nothing less than the worst of me. So now that they see me calm, in control, in my mind, and I've grown. Of course, I'm not that young child anymore, like reckless. I'm not a kid. But how do I address my issues? How do I react? How do I respond? Because you're not supposed to react. You're actually supposed to respond. Respond is just having control of how you react to all your situations. Nah, I'm not giving my power away no more. I'm not going to allow someone to have control over me. I'm not going to give someone the permission to have that button to press when they feel like it and I have a reaction out of it because now you control me. It's not happening no more. That part, I've conquered a lot of those, but not all of it completely. Like, there's still areas I need to work on when it comes to, again, my temper and patience. When it comes to ego and pride, hello, D. When it comes to your ego and pride, that keeps you at a distance from other people. For example, you deal with someone and they treated you some type of way and you just say, F them, right? I ain't dealing with you no more. I don't got to interact with you. I don't got to speak to you. You don't make a difference in my life. And that's ego and pride. When you start to just be dismissive. A lot of people don't know how to face their challenges. They don't know how to face their adversities. They don't know how to face a person and look them dead in the face in their eye. They hide behind a phone and they'll text you and say, I don't want to deal with you anymore. I don't want to talk to you. I want to disconnect with you. Where did we lose the connection? Where did we lose communication? Where did we lose contact with people? This is what's wrong with today's society. We lost the essence of connection with people. Explain that. Elaborate. Unpack that. Depending on the level of what you went through. For instance, now do you run out of fear or do you run out of cautious? You're going to say out of your cautious, being cautious. But in reality, The people that you're running from are just reflections of the shit that you haven't dealt with personally. To be honest with you. Anything that has to do with abuse or not. You have a point. That's valid. But what have you not dealt with and healed from past situations that you're attracting the same type of people that you have to run? You should be able to deal with someone where, again, you have to, I'm reading you as it's going along, right? So there's things that you have to deal with first to heal from past trauma in order to heal this situation, meaning this situation you will no longer attract if you heal and let go and release that shit. Now, D, real quick. How do you treat yourself when no one's looking, alone in the dark? How do you treat yourself per se? How do you react? How are you treating yourself? How do you speak to yourself? How do you envision yourself? Because the image you hold in your mind, how do you treat yourself? Do you have self-love, self-care? Like, do you know when to put a, how do you call it? Boundaries for people to respect? Are you a people pleaser, or do you just don't give a fuck? Right? Because you got to be able to just not. Sometimes you can't care too much. But you have to be genuine and open enough and honest with yourself before going forward with anyone. But you have to heal all those past traumas, and it starts from the root of foundation of your childhood. That people pleaser could be a mother flower. Sorry to say, because you're putting other people before you and you're not pleasing yourself. You got to be able to make yourself happy before you make someone else happy, right? And you're going to constantly be like, oh, what can I do to serve this person? And genuinely, they don't really care about it. They're not going to be, they're not going to look at you like you're doing contribution. You're doing it out of the kindness of your heart, but in reality, they're just taking advantage of you. You got to be able to release, forgive yourself, right? You have a guilt. You have a guilt that you haven't dealt with. That guilt you got to face. That guilt that you got to face, you got to interact and understand where it came from. You got to get to the root. You got to dig deep inside this heart and go back to the memories of your mind of what event, what situation, what happened that caused you to be having that guilt, but at the same time be a people pleaser. Why do you feel like you have to be submissive to someone you don't really even know? Don't be mad. Don't be disappointed. Take it as a lesson. Lesson doesn't, and you lose. A L doesn't mean you lose. It's just a lesson. You never fail. You only fail when you give up. Right? It's learning from it. Learn. What did you learn from the situation? I'm not going to do it again. What did you learn from that particular event? Well, this is what I need to address. This is what I need to fix in myself, so I don't want to attract the same type of people again. Because you're going to constantly repeat. All you're doing is taking the 3rd grade test all over again. 3rd grade, repeating the same grade. Why? Because you haven't been prepared for promotion, meaning you haven't evolved yourself. You haven't increased. You haven't healed. You haven't dug deep into your heart, soul, and mind. You haven't done the inner work. The inner work will show itself through the people you connect with, the people you communicate with, the people that you consider to be your community. Why is it that you can attract certain people, but you don't attract everybody, right? Just think about that alone. What is it that you're vibing on that attracts these type of people? And how come they all seem to be similar? because there's wounds you haven't dealt with in your own self that you need to heal from. I agree with you on that too. Life is too short. Negative energy is not something that you don't totally dismiss, but if you see it, recognize it, acknowledge it, address it. Address it and just be like, yo, why you seem to be like so reactive? What makes you trigger that way? Question it. But then let that be your lot. Not you don't have to be that dismissive, but if it's constant, then definitely cut it off. Cut ties, because they're going to constantly come at that same energy always, over and over and over again. And that shit is draining because it leaves you depleted, leaving you like you lifeless, and it doesn't give you the energy to create towards the future and the vision and the passion and the destiny that you're trying to lead to. And I'm about to cut out. Yeah, we still on here. I'm about to get off now. Matter of fact, I just peeped the time. Yeah, I was going in a little bit. But thank you for the reminder. I gotta get off. Thank you for everybody who joined in. I might... yeah, you missed everything. It was moments that was paused, but it definitely went in. Once I went in, I went in. But everybody, thank you who joined in, who always comes and shows support, who comes and listens. Thank you for taking time out of your day to acknowledge, listen, and hear where I'm coming from, listening to my stories and giving input, giving your perspective. I appreciate everybody who interacted. Thank you for always coming and just to give an acknowledgement, even if it's for a minute or so. At the end of the day, I will always try to put up, I know the Nana's appointment. At the end of the day, I will always try to put some type of content. And if anybody has any suggestions, you just make suggestions in any of the videos. I'll try to see, and if there's anything that you might have in mind that you want to give, you would like me to speak on, just feel free to connect. And if y'all want to follow me, my IG, I believe, is on there as well. I would like to work on 1 or 2 people that I can help out and see. I would like to see who I can use as a protege. And if there's anybody that might be willing to, just so I can share a little light into your life. If y'all interested. If not, it's no problem either. But I'm gonna create a little space. It'll be like maybe once a week, connect with someone or 2 and give it a little advice or help out, steer, guide, and direct. If it's on your heart, only if it's on your heart. Don't feel obligated, don't feel pressured, don't feel like you have to. Please, I am not trying to force anybody to do anything. And thank you everybody for joining in. I'm about to sign off. You guys have enjoyed your weekend. It's Friday. This is the day to unwind. For me, it's the day to read and spend time with my daughter. Well, this is my weekend with her, actually. Yeah, she sleeps over tomorrow. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a blessed weekend.